Well, hello. I can't hear anything. Hello.
Hello.
Okay. We on Discord. Nate?
Hello.
Yes, I go back with Nate with some more Halo 3 this time after a month away. It was
Yes.
Like, it's a thing. Oh, I can't this week. Oh, but then it's something else. It's like always lined every Saturday. But yeah, so I think it's actually special. We got some special guests today. Hello.
Hello.
And yeah. So basically, we were supposed to just be hanging out this weekend, and like, oh, well, hey, might as well do it. You know, let's try it out at the same time. Why not?
Yeah.
It'd be fun.
Might
And
as
with Halo
well.
3 supports 4 players, so Honkers is gonna be a mess. I love it.
Oh yeah.
Let's go. And it was just not gonna work.
Yeah.
Just had a lot of technical issues. Oh, it was a mess already.
Well, it's fine because my streams decided to not work, so
Yep.
I'm just gonna.
Well,
I'll just go.
You can't start your
and then
stream?
Well, my stream just decided to not actually go to Twitch and just is going to nowhere, so
Oh.
I have to restart. It's fine. You can keep going. We'll start it. I'll just do my quick little intro quickly while while everything started. It's fine.
Whichever Spartan
I can't change the label to Boxy and Sky.
You know me.
Oh yeah.
I did my research.
Well, because I don't
Watched
know.
as you became the
Does she do
soldier
any
you
Twitch
needed
stuff?
to
Does
be.
she stream?
Nah. She does some YouTube.
Like the others, you were
Oh,
strong,
she does.
Vlogs.
Okay.
swift, and brave.
Okay. Yeah. I'll
A
do that
natural
then.
leader.
I think I
But
just
you had
lost
something they
the...
didn't.
No, I got it back.
Something no one saw but me.
Did you lose
Can
everything?
you guess?
Just I've lost it.
No,
I
I
think I lost
got
my
it.
mind, yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
It's the highest difficulty. It's the highest difficulty.
Was I wrong?
Oh, good.
It's like we died like what 2,000 times, or well, Halo 2 is because the most brutal one. Because if anyone dies,
Oh, yeah.
everyone goes back.
This one isn't as bad. So
If anyone dies in Halo 2, if me or Nate died, everyone would go back to the checkpoint.
This ain't
Yeah.
Not in this one, thankfully. You can progress, and if you get in the next
2
checkpoint,
kilometers.
as long as one
Stay
person
sharp.
makes it to the next checkpoint, everyone gets revived.
Okay.
Thankfully. Yeah, no, I wouldn't have got you one if it was like Halo 2. No.
Gorman,
You'd
his
be
armor's
too
locked
much of a
up.
liability,
Gel
sorry.
layer could have taken most of the impact.
Okay, I got that.
He's dead.
I don't know, Sergeant Major.
Alright.
Okay, please work.
Oh, well.
Yes,
So should we
save.
wait, or?
No, it's fine. Like I said,
Radio for Vito.
I'll kind of just
Heavy
have no
lifting.
timer and just jump right into
Alright.
it,
We're not leaving him
basically, and then I'll just be like, "Hey, I'm here,"
here.
and
Yeah.
we're here, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, now
Crazy
let's get this
fool.
going.
Why
Now
do you
that should
always
work.
jump? One of these days, you're gonna land on something as stubborn as you are. And I don't do bits and pieces.
There we go. Because I didn't see the live
she,
go up
Chief?
on my channel. I'm like,
Where's
good.
Cortana?
Oh yeah, because you're live. I
Don't
gotta
make a
watch
girl a
Boxy
promise.
Bear here.
Oh.
If you know you can't
Gotta
keep
go
it.
on the Boxy Bears
behind.
stream.
Corporal,
There
make
we
it
go.
quick. Sorry, sir. Your armor's
But
still
no one's
in
in
partial
chat.
lockdown.
I don't get that. What's going on?
It could be like me, I lost the VODs. And just use my...
Arbiter's with us.
Oh no, it's fine.
Oh, no.
This is just the cutscene,
Got
so I'm
enough
not
to
too
worry
worried.
about without you two trying to kill each other.
All right, so I'll just
Were it so
that's
easy.
the right one, and I'll do. Oh, I didn't do that right.
We must go. The brutes have our
Fine, we're
scent.
good. Everything's good.
They must love the smell of
Fine.
Bulgari.
It's-
Yeah, I'm doing a little
it's
product
all
placement.
technical issues.
I
I
gotta
don't know
get
what's
paid
going on
too.
with me, I'm cursed.
Yes, every time. Okay, copy. So that should then transfer over here.
Oh! Hey, she got an achievement!
Yay!
Woo! There we go.
Congratulations. That was tough. Oh, another one! Your journey begins.
Well, now we're done.
Oh, the screen is
Okay.
so tiny. What the heck?
Squad, you're my scouts.
It's
Oh, it's because
yeah.
it's gonna.
So
it's gonna be
unfortunately
black.
for Halo 3, they didn't do the full horizontal
Oh, it was just because it was cropped because of the intro.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
it's just getting a bunch of achievement. Oh, come on, that's not fair. Oh, welcome to the Master Chief Collection. It's gonna be quite a journey.
Okay.
No, let's wait. Let's wait for each other. Come back, everyone. Come back. Come
Well, speaking of welcoming to Master
Bravo
Chief
team.
Collection,
Everyone,
welcome
come back.
back, people.
Come back.
Fall back to the extraction point.
Come back. Tom.
Welcome back, people. As you can see, I am back playing Halo Master Chief
Tom,
Collection,
come back!
but Halo 3.
Can you hear
Halo
us?
3 Legendary with
Tom.
Boxy Bear
Stop!
and the System de Sky,
That sounded close.
Tom.
which apparently
What?
does
Come back!
vlogs on YouTube and other things on
How are
YouTube.
you?
Come back.
And someone named Tom Tom
Yeah,
Tom.
right in front, but we're
Okay, well we're
See,
going. We're
you're
going. It's
picking
fine.
up.
We've had
So
some
is your sheet
technical
working now, Nate?
difficulties. So we're I'm now live with
Okay.
everyone. We've had some issues earlier, but we're just gonna go for it.
Oh, but now it's gonna be a mess because you bought 117.
Together, we're gonna get
Uh oh.
Oh yeah. That's right.
LC.
You wanna
Wait.
come fix that real quick and then go back,
You and the
or
operator head toward the
we
river.
just proceed?
I'm okay with it.
It's fine. Okay.
You can't really.
We
yeah.
have after this mission, then we'll fix it if we do 2 missions.
Yeah. Yeah, if we do 2 minutes. Well, maybe. We'll see. This might actually be okay. This might work out. Who knows? Alright.
Because if you're too far away, instead of showing the name, it shows like your clan tag or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
But by default, it's 117, so you put 117. But yeah, Nate has an 8. I got the XP, so you can count me apart from far away. Oh, well, that's one death. Only means I'll switch to this. Here we go.
Okay.
This is the counter
Alright,
working.
let me turn this down a bit.
Yes.
And then do this.
I'm
Okay. And, okay, perfect. Things are going well.
Keep an eye out for the Bravo team, Chief.
I think the dead count is going to be very accurate in this. I have a feeling.
Oh yeah, speaking of which, I haven't done that. Are you putting the death count? Oh, you
Yeah, I got
did.
it.
Because I didn't have that. Whoops. That's fine. It's okay.
I'm dead.
You got it. I'll refer to yours. Okay. Oh yeah, I forgot the.
I'm dead again.
I gotta. Oh,
Yeah, it's fine.
It's good.
We
Anyways,
died so
here
many
we
times in
are.
the last game. It was embarrassing.
Oh,
Watch
out.
That was yeah.
Oh, and I gotta be careful because I'm hearing the beeping of low health, and I don't know if it's me or Sky.
Oh yeah.
I gotta check.
Oh yeah. So Sky and Boxy are in the same room,
Yep.
so they're using the same screen.
Yep.
Meaning, yeah, certain sounds would be a bit confusing. You're not supposed to die. I'm gonna die.
I'm not supposed to die. I'm gonna die.
Yeah,
Say-
you're not supposed to
you
die.
say?
I'm-
I'm so bad.
It's fine. We're not counting individual deaths anyway.
No.
Very
And the other team can be 10,000
yeah.
deaths.
Oh, area not safe.
Hey,
Ah,
achievement for dying. Nice. Oh,
Yeah.
oh, nice. You got the Dead by Guardians achievement.
Oh, there you go.
See, that one is when the game doesn't know how you died. Yeah, it's
It
just
just
the
says-
Guardians.
It's like, we don't know.
I don't know.
Where are you?
But after, yeah, I'll change the title to have Sky in there, and I can put a link to her YouTube
I
channel.
got it.
Yeah. We'll shout
No.
out.
Well, I usually mostly does French stuff anyway.
Yeah, I see. That's fine.
Oh, yeah, right. That's the skulls too. The skull over here.
Oh yeah, there is a skull. Yeah. You want to find all the skulls too? Is that?
Maybe. No, but I already got a skull coming on this.
Oh yeah, I gotta switch.
But I gotta get them the achievements too.
That's
never mind.
true.
I didn't have that skull.
Oh, you didn't have that one. Oh,
But
okay.
it doesn't matter because you can come on any difficulty in this game.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. There's some that are like, it doesn't matter what difficulty, and some's like, it has to
Yeah, I
be
think like there's only one like in Halo 5 that's on Legendary, so that's it. If it's normal or higher.
I'm dead.
Well, don't.
Actually, it's kind of good because you get the ammo back. You don't run out of ammo.
I guess that's, yeah, because again, this isn't like Halo 2 where you just die immediately.
Yeah.
Or I mean, you have to reset immediately after you die. One person dies or whatever.
Yeah, I remember we did that when we played with Fox. Like, hey, can you kill me so you can give more grenades? Oh, can you kill me again? Can you kill me again?
He's like, okay.
Everything's going up.
We gotta do another game with Super Fox.
Yeah, and by when we reach Halo 3. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do the whole game like just 4 players. That'd be fun.
That would
could.
be.
I just have to give Sky some gold so she can play from home, or if she wants to come every time.
Don't
There
understand.
we go.
Yeah, that's just a little slower. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're just doing a speed run here. All right. Oh yeah.
Yeah, this is the 12-hour speedrun right here. World record.
Well, come on. I didn't have Boxy stuff, but here's
I'll use a
Boxy.
flashlight again.
There we go. Of course, Boxy and Sky.
Oh, wait, is there a separate chocolate that's deadly in this game? I can't remember.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to get the safety. Ah!
I already give me trouble on normal, so I'm guessing they're gonna be a bit of a pain as well on legendary. I think we're going the wrong way.
Yeah, no, that was me running away to you guys to go back.
Did you put the legendary difficulty level?
Yeah!
Oh,
This is the whole point of this series!
That's why Boxy wants to do this, is to put us into pain.
And that's why I'm always dead.
Yeah. Well, that's why Sky's like, I'm dead, like every 5 seconds.
Well, it's probably the same thing when we were playing as well.
Well,
So it's
yeah,
fine.
yeah.
But it's a lot easier with the more
I'm
players
dead,
we
I'm
have.
dead. I
It's
have
a lot
died.
easier.
Yes. 4 people is a lot better than
Solo
1
is
or
awful.
2.
Dad.
No.
It's fine, as long as we keep progressing and we don't all die at the same time, then we're
Yes.
invincible.
Yeah. Pretty much.
I think it's going to be really, really short. Like the first one, we breezed through that one. Oh, actually, we still gotta do the first 2 missions of CE because we skipped those. If you remember.
Oh yes.
You might at the very end. You might go back. We'll see.
Oh boy. Ah.
After we've done all the games, including more than 2600. Thankfully, just won't die. There we go. Watch out!
Oh wow, that was yeah, I saw that. That was
Okay, I didn't have plasma grenades. There we go. Watch out!
oh, Angry Brute.
Pelicans are en route, Chief, but I
Agreed,
can't reach
Gary.
Bravo. If you find them,
Yes.
get them to the extraction point.
Angry Brute.
Okay.
Let's go.
Oh yeah, that's right. The dealer is only 1. I
Oh,
keep
God.
forgetting.
What? You had a little jump scare there. Maybe the mic a little bit. Maybe. Boing.
Kiss my...
Okay. Hey, put down Nathan Fillion. Oh, like, oh no, no,
Watch out,
no, Nathan Fillion.
What?
I save him, and then
Watch
the
out.
grunt died with the grenade, and it dropped right in front of me. Just like, huh? Oh, I tried to
It's
save
fine.
him.
No! I fell.
Sorry.
How could you?
You gotta go around.
No!
No, not that
Oh,
way.
I'm dead.
Right, this way.
There, I'm back. Okay. Loading. Checkpoint. Maybe.
Ah, watch out!
Oh, boy.
Grenade!
I think you died.
Oh, we gotta get. Oh, you got. Oh,
Oh.
some grenade in there. There you go. Watch out! Watch out!
Watch out.
Oh, nice. That's gonna be one. Another grenade. Ah, bubble shoot! Watch out! He tossed the bubble shoot right ahead for the grenade. Okay, I think we're good.
No, I am hearing in my stream that my computer's still struggling with
What?
having Discord as well as the game streaming.
Oh wow.
Is
wanted to
having
get loose
issues,
and dust
but
or
it's
something.
fine. Oh my goodness.
Could you sacrifice?
Oh, dual cortanas.
Could you watch me
Oh,
die?
whichever fan.
Tom got scared.
Me too.
He's like, ah, what's this? Trying to throw out a Cortana.
You got 2 cortanas.
Oh, it's you have to prepare yourself. There's gonna be
Yeah, there's a
in
lot of
some ways
those.
this is like Five Nights at Freddy's where you get the Cortana jump
Yeah.
scare.
Oh, I remember this actually. I got scared back in the day too.
So the
but
Cortana
when it was
scare
given
will
gold,
occur
way
once in a
down.
while.
I'm dead.
Break off now!
No.
I think wait, that's the wrong way. Is it? No. Is this way? Wait, is
are we
it?
going
No.
backwards, or- Yeah, we're going
We're going
backwards, I
to.
think.
It's this way.
Yeah, there's dead bodies. I was like, okay.
Because it said bunnies both directions, so it's this way.
It's fine, everything's good.
Yeah, cross the tree again, cross the bridge again. No, cross the bridge, don't jump down. You gotta go back around. Oh, that works.
Okay.
Back in the action.
Okay. Oh, let me pick this one up. Is everybody just quiet or? Oh no,
Nice.
Boxy Bear's muted.
What?
Boxy's muted.
What? Oh wow.
You were mute. I'm like, I'm hearing nothing, and I'm like, is everyone
No,
just really
God.
quiet?
There we go.
But yeah.
I guess Tom wasn't talking. That's why.
Anyways, Sky's dead.
It's because Tom wasn't talking. There's no other reason.
Yeah, I was just like, I hear no one talking. I'm like, oh, they're really into the game. They're just like,
Oh,
everyone's focused.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, but I see people talking about like the good old days of the LAN parties and like LAN play.
Oh, yeah.
I'm
like
getting that feeling right now. Oh, nostalgia.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, like that's. It's so weird. You're like, oh, people
Good
don't
old
do
days.
I'm like, they still do that. People
2007.
still do
Watch
that.
out.
Oh, I bought
Sorry.
it.
It's always gonna be right. The Academy one fresh ever. No way. Everything's gonna be great.
Haha.
Nice. Oh, you got the man, legend, and Chubbo achievement. Listen to the man.
Oh yeah,
Again, I got sniped.
right. Oh,
Oh, good.
Watch out for
Get
the
over it.
snipers. Watch out.
yeah. There's a
Yeah.
couple of snipers.
There's snippers everywhere.
Oh, good.
Oh, yeah,
Watch out.
I just see him die in front of me.
Hey Tom, watch out for the snipers. What?
What? Did.
Just
Oh,
get say.
Okay.
You can click on the right stick to zoom in, by the way. But it doesn't work with all weapons. Some weapons don't want to use fire. You zoom in.
Okay.
Well, I think it depends on
Sniper.
what control scheme you're using.
Oh.
No, but the default control scheme is right.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like what? I don't know.
I'm dead.
Actually, can I test on
Yeah.
the controller?
What?
Yeah, the X right stick. Okay, click the
Okay.
right
Well,
stick.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
But
you.
this one, like this weapon, for example, doesn't work. You can't fire while zoomed in. Let me look at some weapons.
We're gonna look at the. Oh wow, that was you died.
Oh, next one. Oh, we respawn all the way back. No, Tom, wrong way. Wrong. This way, Tom. Come back. Come back.
Uh-oh.
Tom!
Tom's
This
losing it.
Wait, is it this way? I don't know anymore.
No, it's
Ah,
over.
it works. It works.
Oh
Yes, yeah,
my
this way.
goodness,
This way.
Foxy.
This way. Yeah, yeah.
You're leading
We're good.
him to death. Over here.
Watch out! Sniper.
Yeah, there's sniper everywhere.
Uh-oh. Okay.
I'm gonna pause
Okay.
it a bit
Guy, you
because
got
I
this.
took
You
a
can do
fall.
this.
It's fine. Just
I
sweep
believe
yourself.
in you. You got this. Get the sniper. Get the sniper. You got the sniper.
Yay! Good job.
Good job. All right. Oh yeah, should we get the monkey family?
Oh yeah, that's
achievement
another thing. I don't remember exactly where it is though.
It's right here. You
Oh.
have to like sort of walk by this curve.
Yes, guy, if you can come over here. Just use
Yeah.
Oh.
the achievement.
Free achievement.
Yeah, just come up
Uh-oh.
on me. Help you.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, Nate got it. Oh well.
It's
Is it possible to put it on pause because I think my mother tries to call?
No,
to,
well, you can just stay back. It's fine.
Can it be paused?
No, but I can use you.
Is somebody there?
Yeah. Hello.
You guys.
Oh god.
Hello?
I can mute you if you can just send a message in Twitch chat when you're back.
I don't hear you.
Hello.
You don't. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. We have issues.
I'm dead.
Tom, you here? It's
We
fine.
have a
It's fine. It's
problem.
fine. It's fine. Hold on.
Okay, I
I'm gonna
think
hold on. Hold
yeah,
on.
just I'm dead. I'm dead, but mute him.
There we go. I muted him.
No. I'm
Okay.
dead.
Because I should be able to mute him on mine, right?
Yeah, I muted him on the. Oh right. I'm just doing something mute. There we go.
Yeah, just the yeah.
So then what do you?
Okay, that works. Well, don't. Hi. Ow! Ow! Okay. Nice.
The monster is dead.
Mm-mm. Oh! Oh, another sniper! Oh.
I'm gonna snip it.
The monster is dead. Oh, I'm dead. Watch out!
Got him. Oh, I got bubble shield. Okay. Get the sniper. Oh, snipping. Stop snipping. Ah, okay.
What? No!
Oh! Oh, I died! No! Surprise sniper! Sniper surprise. Oh, good.
What?
Oh! Uh-oh.
Did he quit? No! It was a misunderstanding. I thought, no, you can't pause it, but it's fine. Why did you quit? Why? Tom!
What? Okay.
Tom, what
I'm
are
trying to
you
think.
doing?
Well, that was legendary. And just invite him back.
Yeah. We just know how this stuff works. It doesn't be.
Yeah, I know.
Like-
But just at least he'll see it. Be like, hey. Because as long as he was playing, it was fine.
Yeah, as long as he didn't quit.
The game is very, very cool.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
Well,
We're back. You should be back now. Hello? We can't hear you. Oh.
yeah. Yeah. Do something about that.
No, it could. No, everyone has to be here the whole time. But I think that's why Halo 2 took forever because we kept disconnecting.
Yeah.
And we had to restart the entire mission every time.
Well, I know with Halo 3 they did like certain save areas, like checkpoints or whatever,
We'll
right?
see.
Like Alpha checkpoint, then Bravo. So I don't know where we are in those checkpoints though. That's the
But
problem.
it's in co-op though, so I don't think it's a checkpoint.
You should be. You shouldn't. You should still be able to go
Let's
to
see.
a Alpha Bravo
Tom, can you
Charlie
join?
checkpoint.
You can barely hear you, by the way, Tom. I see that you're talking, but I don't hear anything.
Okay. Did you like unmute him or whatever?
Yeah, I'm muted. Yeah, I see that it's Circle at least talking, but like, I don't actually hear anything.
Oh gosh. Okay, I'll have to go to the other one.
Oh jeez.
Oh, my computer's gonna die just by doing that. Okay.
It's fine.
Oh, so now I'm unmuted.
Right.
There
yeah,
you
you
go.
You're on the phone, so that's why I muted you.
Yeah, so you'd still be able to play. It's just
Yeah.
we didn't want
So
your
don't
conversation
quit.
to be heard.
Just if you gotta go, just be idle or whatever.
Yeah, it's fine.
And then you can't pause it.
But I thought when I was quitting, I was
No.
just removing myself from the
No.
game.
No.
but,
You know, with these
That's what
older
I-
games, with the older games like Halo, like this Halo, it completely takes everyone out.
In PvP, yeah, you just remove
Yeah.
it in the game, but not in the campaign.
But only I think it was Halo 5 that did that,
Oh,
where
that's
you can
nice.
leave and it does. Yeah, oh yeah, that was a big thing. It's the drop in because you get replaced with an AI or
Right.
whatever.
But
So
yeah,
these ones didn't have that, but then like Halo 5 is when they started that, and that's later on. So
Nice.
unfortunately, this one
yeah, don't go.
it takes everyone out. It's okay. It's okay.
Well, we'll
Oh
speed
yeah,
run this.
did you not check?
First
Oh, you
part,
didn't.
my scouts.
Was you should have been able to go
Nope.
to
Move
Oh,
out.
it's on the-
Really?
It's on the playlist. I remember.
Oh right, that's right. You're doing the playlist. I forgot. Yeah,
It's
that's right.
fine. We'll speed run this.
Oh my god.
We didn't take too long.
No, well, now that we know we're gonna die a lot, we'll just.
I hear if you just like Halo, like, hey, let's like distract and have one just rush. Maybe.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, it's a wolf.
Yeah. That's like you can see the Discord overlay in my screen. It's kind of deceiving, yeah. 'Cause when Sky is talking, it shows it as me talking. 'Cause
Yeah, I know,
We're
that's
next to
the
each
thing.
other. We're seeing the same mic.
Okay, so I'm guessing she's at the bottom of your screen,
Yes.
right? Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put your name up here,
Oh, that's nice.
and then I'm gonna put. I just put Sky. I guess let's system the Sky.
Oh, we forgot to change our
Would be
tags
the
while we were
full-
quit out. Oh well. We could
Yeah,
have done
that's
that.
that's
It's fine.
yeah. Good. So is that her name on YouTube or like?
I
that's
don't know her name on YouTube actually. But if you see something like CL that pops in my chat, yeah, that's
Okay, well I'll just put Sky for now, but in the title I'll later put like what her actual her YouTube thing is. Oh, I'm hearing sounds.
Oh, I'm dead.
Oh,
You have 500 new messages.
you had one job, Sky.
Hey, it's not my phone. No.
Chill issue.
Oh. Come on. Oh, okay. So we already got the skull, so we don't need to get it.
Yep.
Okay.
What'd you say?
Nice. Okay, let's do this. While it freezes the stream, that's fine.
Ah, crap. Oh boy.
I'm not dead.
It's,
I'm dead.
It's like, I'm not dead. Oh, I'm dead.
Watch out, grenade!
Oh.
No!
No. No. Come on.
Oh.
Oh.
No!
No.
I'm dead.
I saw that.
Yeah, that was an angry
Oh
bird.
god. Alright,
Now let's see if I can copy. Right. I go
Hey, Shaki.
paste reference, because then I should be able
You're making
to...
good progress.
Yeah. And then I'll just put Sky, I guess.
Wait,
But
why?
I guess that's
Why is Nate not Arbiter?
because
You're supposed
it
to
would
play
be
with two.
Sky. No, it's Sky.
Oh, because it's local, even if you play with 3.
In local, it's because she's technically the second
Even if the
player.
lobby, she's still with player 3.
Oh, I seen
Oh, God.
your name, her name, and then I seen me.
Right. Oh, I guess it rearranges it. Because they will
Yeah,
always that way.
yeah,
Local
so-
players are always the
Nope.
first ones.
Yeah,
Okay.
because you're the host, right? So
Yeah.
it'd be you, and then the guest
Okay.
would count, and then it's yeah.
'Cause I tried to have you first, you could be Arbiter. Oh well.
Oh no, yeah, because the local. That's
Watch
okay.
out.
That's fine. I can pretend to be arbiter.
Yeah.
Boom, bitch. Boom, bitch. Get out of the way.
What's your language?
Whoa.
What's your
Sorry.
profanity?
So there may or may not be some swearing in this stream.
Yes.
Just,
Well, yeah, you don't
flavor.
know.
It's I understand. You know, I try to keep,
What's
but
your
then again,
profanity?
I'm dead.
but so that's the thing is like certain games don't listen to me and they end up swearing anyways. But,
Yeah.
But I I'm not. I just like to have a little swear. It's like just in case, just so
Yeah.
people are like, if you're watching, do not have your children watch,
And in it.
and you're dead.
Great.
Ah, sniper, snip, stop
Definitely.
sniffing. There we go.
Boom!
Okay, so let me. Oh, am I trying to do too many things?
Okay.
Oh. Oh, right here it is.
No! Not starting it.
Yeah.
There. I'll just put Sky's name, which is, again, I don't know what the full name I should put.
Nice, nice, nice. I saw that, yep.
I'm just, while I'm doing this, I'm technically helping. Because you guys are able to come back. But I should probably move ahead so you're not,
Yeah, that's cheesy.
completely.
You can
Okay.
actually just do that, yeah. You do all the games in solo. I got a second controller and stay back.
Yeah.
You find him? Get him to the extraction point.
I shall save the marine!
I'll wait for you, Sky.
I sacrificed myself a marine.
Nope. Okay, there we go. Alright.
Oh, that was him that just died. Rip.
Good job. Oh,
Go for the sniper. Oh, I see, watch out the sniper. I'm just dead.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
What's
okay.
accidentally do?
Watch out. Oh.
oh.
And up here. And up here. So times the charm. Here we go. Hello. Hey, watch out! I touched on his best friend. Yep, you gotta watch out.
Oh god. I hurt.
Oh my goodness. There we go.
Hey. A lot of grenades.
I guess.
Up. Up. Hey.
Oh crap, it changed both. That's not what I wanted to do. That's not what I wanted to do.
Yeah, I go way back there. What the? Yep. There.
Wow.
Did you sacrifice
Jump
yours to
scare.
complete your mission?
Me too.
Could you watch me die?
Guess I'll do it this way then.
Hey, by the way, one can hear you in the background.
Yeah. I just hear some random person.
Yeah. I know Tom can tell him.
Break off now!
Ow.
Ah.
Hold of her! Negative! We're going down!
I'm gonna mute him for a sec.
Okay.
What? Damn it. No.
It's
Did you die?
It's fine.
I'm not there, okay?
I guess it.
Alright, well.
Well, that time I guess if you can tell him that yeah, there's other people. The entire internet can hear him.
Yeah, just everyone just here.
We're at 5,000 viewers. And
Well, if someone knows how to speak Le Français.
Jeez.
Oh boy. Okay. So now it's That's good. That's what we want.
Oh god.
You're not supposed to die.
John!
No one's supposed to die.
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
Monster.
Alright. I know my gameplay's not riveting at the moment. Okay.
Ah.
Okay, there we go. Done. Fixed. So I have Boxy Bear's name, and then we have Sky. There we go. Oh, I need to fix it on here.
Alright.
So we'll have this.
Yo, then I say that. Yep. They're all dead, alright.
It's like, I think they're dead.
Watch out, there's another sniper. Oh, so there's a katana just uninstalled. Nice. Yep.
Alright,
Katana
well,
just not the other.
Whee!
I'm dead.
Oh gosh! You don't quit the game. Unpause.
Yeah, don't quit the game. Yes. Do not quit the game. It's not. It's not gonna keep going. Oh boy.
It is a mess.
It's like, I know, Sky, you're upset, but don't quit the game. Just, I'm done. Oh.
You can do this. Speed run.
Yes, speed run. Oh my goodness. Okay.
So we got like 195 deaths today already. I'm getting pinpoint at least.
Well, that's good.
This makes me.
Well, looks like Sky is having a good time.
Are you getting spawn kill?
No, like she's just standing there.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, that's good. That works.
Yeah. Hey, she's
There we
back.
go. Alright. So we have that fixed.
Finish the fight.
And now we have this. Okay, there we go. And I'm dead. Alright.
Yay.
There. Yeah.
This guy's kind of annoying.
Oh my goodness. Oh, that worked. He jumped right in front of me, boss. Yes, so shooting him.
Hey.
There we go.
Watch out!
Ah! Whoa! Okay. Ah! Nope. Nope. Ah! What?
I got one. I'm dead.
I'm dead.
Uh,
Wow! I spawned and I get sniped instantly. Why am I? What's going on? I'm up on a rock. Okay, fine, that works. Don't you dare.
we actually do 2 missions if we don't quit again.
Yes, if we don't quit again.
If.
Understand now how it works.
If it's in PvP, you can quit though.
Yeah, like
But
we
not
were
in the
playing.
campaign.
Yeah, we were playing online multiplayer against people, but with the story.
But then
the
you get
campaign.
banned, so it's still bad.
Well, yeah, you get It's not advised.
If you really have to, but if you do it too often, you get banned.
Yeah.
Or if the game crashes too many times. It happened to me.
Oh. Guy's still out.
I think it kind of works. Yeah, I actually saw that because Overwatch 2 has that problem actually. Like a lot of times, if you try to connect, start a match in a certain mode, it just fails to connect, and then it counts as you quitting, and you get matchmaking.
I heard of something like that.
That's so
happen.
stupid.
Yeah.
That is so stupid.
Well, I mean, it's a good thing they got rid of their what is it, PVE? You know, like the
Yeah, the
actual
entire reason
co-op.
Overwatch 2
Yeah,
exists.
it's a good thing they just it's a good thing they got rid of that because you know.
Wait, that's just Overwatch though.
Yeah,
What's the difference?
I know.
It's the same game.
It's
And literally the
so-
same game because it's just literally just an update on consoles.
Well, it's so bizarre. It's like, yeah, okay, well, we're gonna call this Overwatch 2. We're gonna say, oh, we're gonna have PVE and all this stuff. It's like, oh, well, it's not really working out too much, so we're just not gonna do it. I'm like,
I had like a patch match with Hot Friends. They're like, oh yeah, we're gonna have like a session. They rushed to complete Overwatch before it shut down, and then when they found out, they were so pissed. I did all that for nothing.
And I'm just like, well, why don't you just like say it's gonna take longer to make it work? Like, I don't understand that at all.
And they're working on that for like what, 4 years? The entire reason that Overwatch 1 stopped getting updates. Oh, and
well,
the controllers
that,
got stick drift. Uh-oh. Is it getting
No, that's me. I am pushing her so that we're not always going back here.
You're pushing her, I see.
Yeah, I am pushing her.
I thought it was stick drift.
No, I mean, it's a very interesting stick drift. But no, because, yeah, otherwise we just keep spawning back here, and I'm like, let's at least push it a little bit closer.
I can help you out, hold on.
Okay, yeah, that would... So is she just, like, eating a lunch? Like, what's going on?
No, she's just talking about that.
Oh, okay. It's like, she's just gone. It's like, okay. Or I thought she fell asleep. Or she rage quit. Like, I'm dying too much! She's asleep.
Because that's the reason she actually revived today. It's like, oh, well, I think they're going to have an alarm, but no. There we go.
Okay.
I'll be before noon. Yeah, before noon, and it's 15.
Crap.
No, I got teleported.
Nice.
That's not nice because then I got teleported from the snipers.
Yes.
Okay.
Good, good. Okay, where is this? Ah, I see ya. Oh, come on.
Oh no, he's here.
Oh, is he down?
Old sniper up here.
Ah. Oh yeah, I see. I see him. Ah, come on. Ah. I think I got him.
Ah, watch out! Ah, watch out!
More grenades.
No! No!
Oh, dude. I was gonna close the door. Hold on.
Of course, I'm actually seeing an OBS of the game capture for the audio of the game capture is not really working.
Oh, great.
It's fine. It's okay. Oh, I just got sniped.
All right.
No!
Oh, I thought I fell at my death.
Might
But no.
close.
Oh, same for Tom.
Stop. I'm gonna close this.
Oh, wait, never mind. I actually died. this
Hopefully
time.
that'll help with some things.
Nice. Thanks, Tom. We're very like-minded, so you can see. And I got
Okay,
skipped.
what else? Yeah, Oh! Come on. Like, is it? Yeah, it's weird. Pretty close. Ah!
Hey, pinpoint.
Oh god.
Here we go. Here we go, fam. That's me for me. Here we go. I'm gonna get.
Oh,
I'm gonna
behind.
go grab
Right.
a
Okay,
sniper.
got him.
You got a sniper. Yeah. Okay. Now I'm gonna try not die and lose the sniper though.
No!
So I'm gonna stay back. Okay.
What?
I'm gonna stay back so I don't lose the sniper I just picked up.
Yeah.
Mess. You okay down here? Yeah.
Ooh, right in the
You look
knee.
kinda lost over here. Down.
Yeah.
Over here. You're alright.
Ah. Oh.
What are you doing? Are you stuck? Yeah, over here. What? Oh, there we go.
Ooh.
Wow.
Oh, that got me. Ooh.
Get up the rock.
Oh no.
There we go.
Oh. Okay, that was good.
Congrats. Almost at the end.
Nope.
Okay, this is where it gets tricky. Then when we started blasting.
Ooh.
Cutscene.
See how they bait their trap?
I'm sure
That would help
somebody
you
could
sprint.
change the video settings on this.
Time when we started blasting. Don't go down just yet.
Ah, dang it! I can't even. I'm a little dead.
You're throwing a lot of bullets.
Okay.
Okay.
I think my sniper is gonna last
Okay.
very long.
Back up here.
No. Okay.
Okay, this is only enough. Single fireworks. Okay, that might be better.
You give it one sniper. No!
I think I can make something, but I think
Yeah,
the
let's pick up my
CPU is just
sniper
gonna
back.
go nuts. Unfortunately.
It should be somewhere around here.
So that means the stream's gonna lag. That's okay. That's only my stream. Boxy's is fine.
Well, I just got a carbine in help. It's not a full-on sniper, but it's good enough.
Watch out.
Yeah, when am I going to stay back a little bit? I'm gonna expose everyone at once.
I'm dead.
Yeah, no more sniper.
Whoa! Whoa!
Everything's burned up.
Whoa!
Get this nip.
I'm dead.
Oh yeah, just in case you weren't aware, Boxy, you are muted.
What? Oh wow. Okay, well, that's a sniper. Oh! That's a sniper.
I was like, see, I wasn't sure if you were doing that on purpose because of
Where's
a
the sniper?
conversation or something, but anyways, where's the sniper?
I saw it on her screen.
Oh.
I can see expanding on it. Ah. Hey.
Well, as long as we have Sky back, we'll win. That's all
Yes.
I know.
Okay, I got a sniper.
Well, you're back here, Sky, playing, so now we're gonna win.
Yeah!
Yeah, because we know you never die.
Yeah.
So. So it just we can do it.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Oh yeah, there's that
Was
sniper.
that you said,
Yeah.
Nate?
Oh. What?
Well, you say she never dies.
Yeah, she never dies.
Yeah.
That's why we'll win.
Yeah, hold on.
Yeah. Oh, you're muted again. I don't know
Yeah,
what
no.
you're. I don't know if that's on purpose.
Interruptions. It's fine. Okay. Oh, watch out behind!
Alright. Okay, alright, we got look at that Tom. Tom's just going ahead and just taking everyone out.
Yeah.
No.
Boot shot?
Oh yeah.
Watch out, watch out, watch out.
Hammer.
I'm gonna
Oh.
toss some boot shot. Stay back.
Ah! Uh-oh.
Where?
Phantom.
What? Where?
Phantom.
Oh, right.
Okay, who is preventing my friends to spawn? Okay, this guy. Just like-
Sorry.
It's okay.
I'm scared.
Me too.
No.
It's
really.
okay, I shoot Boxy all the time, it's fine.
Yeah.
Everything's good.
Bad idea. No.
Boot shot? Oh, there's only
Oh,
two-
see that?
there's only two
See, look at that! Look at that. So you got Tom and Sky at the bottom, and we're at top, like that. Look at that.
Yep.
Look at that teamwork.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. Where's the... Oh. Oh! Whoops! Sorry. Sorry, Sky. I was shooting at the 200 friend. Oh.
No.
It's fine. It's fine. We died like 200 times, 300 times today.
Yeah, like, that's just what
Collectively.
Legendary is. You're just... It's gonna happen. Like, there's... Like...
It's
I don't...
okay,
I
don't...
mean,
See, I died too, it's fine.
like, I don't know if it's ever been possible that someone's done this without dying. I have no idea,
Yeah.
but I couldn't do it. Like I just walk out and die like that. I mean, again, it's better because we can respawn.
Yeah.
But with Halo 2,
Oh, that was
no.
No.
Like you'd go to the last checkpoint. It's like
it took like what 15 swims or something like that.
What's your ETA?
Be Halo 2. Yeah.
yes.
Because one part 20.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And we did like what 1 portion of Halo 1? Yep.
Yeah.
That's about right.
Yeah.
I kinda have bad weapons, but it's okay.
Yeah, I feel like I tease about dying because I know that it's going to happen. Like it's just gonna happen. That's just legendary.
I shouldn't say he's still dying to this day.
Oh boy. Well, like even with like what was it, Halo 4 Spartanov, they basically have it that even if you're playing single player of Spartanov, you still respawn. So it's like you might as well just play it on Legendary because you're gonna just keep respawning.
Yeah.
Just like okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
So as soon as I found that out, I'm like,
maybe.
oh yeah.
We could do it. But then the limit for doing it solo, like, kind of.
Yeah, I don't think I've done. I might have done it once where I played.
You can also watch the episodes. Are the episodes pretty long?
I mean, they're ish. Not they're not like 20 minutes long or anything.
Okay.
Really, maybe like 10 minutes, maybe something like that.
Hey, mission complete.
We did it, guys. We
everyone
did
up
it.
Going to home base.
It was all Tom, really.
Hey, I only died 42 times.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Congrats.
Only.
IFF confirmed. Contact is
well, okay.
We can do another one.
No,
Easy.
that's what I'm looking. Yeah, we could do another one.
Next time, if you don't start an hour late, we'll do 3 missions.
Yeah, that's right.
We're this game will rush it like dang.
Yeah.
But time to change the tag before we forget.
Yes.
Let's quit out real quick.
Ooh, battle hardened. Look at all this stuff we're gonna be getting. Look at this.
Hey.
Look at all this stuff. Progression, playlist progression.
CPU. Oh damn. Oh, I think it's been worse for us because we're getting double the challenge notifications.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
Sorry for the tight squeeze.
Alright.
Tell the commander
let's
Ace is in the hole.
And go check our tags. And Danny can do it too if you follow along, or just Sky doing it. It's fine too.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't know if Sky, if she can send her like YouTube link or whatever, or what her YouTube channel is called, because then I can put that in my my description stuff and let people know.
Oh, Sky can't because it takes a second, so Tom is gonna have to do it.
Yeah.
Right. So Tom, can you change your tag real quick?
Change my tag.
Right. So what you do is go to settings, options and carrier. Options and carrier, and player ID. Oh yeah, change the icons. Huh?
Yeah.
And go to service ID. Yeah, not client tag. Yeah. So yeah, go to options, player ID, and then service ID. You can change it right here. I guess you can put Tom or whatever.
I'm not. This is a carrier.
Can I see my screen?
Oh, I check.
Yes, I go to your options. Player ID.
Oh, that back. Okay, yes.
Yeah, player ID. Yep. And then I think you gotta put a session first, perhaps. It's fine. And then service ID. You can change it. Just so we can tell each other apart from a distance.
Oh, so I can.
You can put like Tom. Right. You got it?
Yeah.
Or just tell me when it's changed so I can invite. Well, you just join the session when it's changed. Oh, are you still in? Huh?
Yeah.
Okay. You can put that
Yeah,
on.
nobody leave.
No. You stay here. It's the law. We're waiting on Tom to change his tag.
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay. So now we should be able to.
There we go. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. Okay. Do you remember where the skull is on that one? Oh, yes, he's got Tom. There he goes. Now we should
Oh
meet
yeah.
Tom.
Sorry for the tight squeeze. Tell the commander her ace is in the hole.
Check it out. No way. A Spartan?
No way, for real.
You better
Where?
not be. Oh man,
I
he's
can't
here.
see him.
We're gonna be
Where
all
did you
right.
find him?
Napping, out back.
I'll bet.
Salute.
It's good to see you, Chief.
Likewise, ma'am.
Let's get you up to speed. The Prophet of Truth's ships breached the lunar perimeter, smashed what was left
I
of
do
the
not
home
have the
fleet.
salute board.
Terrestrial casualties from the
thought I had,
subsequent
like,
bombardment
salute
were
the comrade.
extreme. Truth could have landed anywhere, but he committed all his forces here, East Africa, the ruins of New Mombasa. Then they started digging.
What about Halo?
We stopped it, but only temporarily. Now the Prophet of Truth is looking for something called the Ark, where he'll be able to fire all the Halo rings. If he succeeds, humanity, the Covenant, every sentient being in the galaxy.
The rings will kill us all.
Ma'am, I have Lord Hood.
Patch him through.
Good news, Commander Keyes?
Good as it gets, sir.
So I see. What's your status, son?
Green, sir.
Glad to hear it. Commander's come up with a good plan.
That model
Without
didn't age
you,
well.
I wasn't sure we could pull it off.
Truth's ships are clustered above the excavation site, and his infantry has deployed anti-aircraft batteries around the perimeter. But if we neutralize
That
one of the
shit,
batteries,
those textures
punch a
are from
hole in
Halo 2
Truth's
though, I swear.
defenses.
I'll initiate a low-level
Background.
strike. Hit him right
Oh
where it
yeah,
hurts.
possibly.
I only
You
have
can
a handful
tell.
of ships, Master Chief. It's a big risk. But I'm confident.
Yeah, you're right. I think you're right.
Hell, not again.
I never looked at the
Emergency
background,
generators,
but
now.
it
Shield
does.
failed. They're
Yeah,
down and
that
charging.
does look
As
like
soon as they're
Halo
up,
2.
re-establish contact with Lord Hood. Let him know.
They probably just took it and just been like, all right. It could have been like a test thing, and then just like, yeah, we'll leave it because.
I wonder that you might escape the coming
Oh, forget
fire.
well, it's just gonna be for this and really gonna make me want to stop.
The world will burn until its surface is
Yeah.
but glass, and not even your demon will live to creep, blackened from its hole to mar the reflection of our passage. The
Not you again, I thought we beat you up.
Yeah, yeah. We punched him like 20 times or whatever.
Many times.
am their instrument.
For the whole 2 weeks.
Cocky bastard.
ridiculous.
Loves to run his mouth.
Does he usually mention me?
Give the order. We're closing shop.
Ma'am,
We're about to get hit.
all personnel.
They're wounded.
defense code Alpha
We're getting
1,
all of them
prepare for
out.
immediate
I'll have
evacuation.
to carry him myself.
Ma'am, squad leaders are requesting a rally point. Where should they go?
To war.
All right. So I think it's like here already, or
Yes, right at the beginning.
Oh.
I was joking. I
They're down,
remember.
Pretty-
we're not receiving.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm like, it's like right here.
Any of our birds squawking?
And then there's the other one too.
Wait, Overwatch
That's
has contacts. Phantoms
below
closing
or
on our
whatever.
position.
The little tunnel thing.
Any
It's up
birds less
here.
than 5 minutes out?
Well, yeah, there's one here, but
Tell
there's the other
everything
one.
else to scatter.
Aye, aye.
It's like, oh, he's on top of the pipe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, there it is.
Hey. Oh, there's no achievement for it. Yeah. There's the other one that has an achievement. Oh, never mind.
Yeah, they should all have achievements.
Oh, right. It's only the original. They don't all have them.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Those elite texture done. I'm wondering also from Halo 2 somewhat. The elite hand textures.
Follow me, sir.
They look very much.
Come on, sir. I'll show you the way.
Arbiter.
Base was built for some 20th century.
That's what they probably did. They probably just took his model and updated it.
Yeah. That's possible. Because the Arbiter.
Oh, this way. I was waiting for the door to open.
The door's already open.
I was looking at the wrong door.
I'm sick of hiding anyway.
Oh, that's the thing with this game though. It's really hard to drop the skull.
Point of entry. Best assessment.
Yeah.
Because there's no cooldown.
Sergeant.
Agreed. Chief, Arbiter,
Arbiter,
get there.
Back up.
Yeah. There we go. Okay.
We're with you, Chief.
Yeah, get some. We'll guard the op center, Master Chief.
You clear the Covenant out of the hangars real short-handed, Chief.
Chief?
We don't get there quick,
Channel
we
is
roll.
My fire teams are spread.
I love there's like all this dialogue happening at the same time.
Hangar clear for evac ASAP.
Oh.
Here we go. No, the Warthog! Marines are dead. Who cares? The Warthog! No!
No, not the Warthog.
No!
Oh, no!
Yes, now I know it's Tom because it's this.
Yeah, we know. Yeah. Okay.
Hey! Open up! What's the password? Password? Oh man, forgot. What?
Oh, okay, random. Oh, of course, AVG.
Oh, yeah, it's the Easter egg. The Rooster Teeth thing.
Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah.
I forgot the password. You got it?
I'm being serious. I don't know the password.
I don't know the password.
Changed the first part. That part was the right part. See, now you got the whole thing wrong.
Where Sarah's actually, Guy's actually doing the actual game.
Yeah, Nate can explain it better.
We're just here watching.
Yes, I remember correctly. It's yes, we did like some sketches and stuff for Halo 2 or something. Is it? But Rooster Teeth is a YouTube channel, and they did some stuff for Halo and other games. And then yeah, when this game came out, yeah, is it like a sketch that they made, or where did that come from? Those lines.
I think I'm trying to remember. I heard that they put out some sort of like contest thing of like the winner would be able to have like an Easter egg thing, and they just. From what I heard.
Okay.
I could be wrong,
but
I think that's what it was. Yeah, I think it was something like that. And then
I thought
they
it was just fan of Rooster Teeth.
Yeah, well. Okay, where are we going?
I don't know.
I do, because Sky was going the right way. She was actually playing the game, and we were just watching two guys talk.
And didn't they make a red and blue Easter egg at some point too? I can't recall.
What do you mean?
Was there a red and blue Easter egg anywhere, or I'm just imagining things?
A red versus blue Easter egg?
Yeah, versus blue. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, what? I know in Halo 2 they did one specifically. This is where we're here now. It's fine. We're as long as we all make it somehow. But I know in Halo 2 it was like in multiplayer. The map Turf. Oh. There's actually, or I guess you may also see some of the, it's like vending machines, but they have like
Did
the
you
rooster.
see vending machines?
Yes! Vending machine.
Oh my gosh.
One has a rooster, and then one has a sheep. has like the logos and it's red and blue.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so they did that. That's kind of like their little Easter egg thing for that. Can't remember if there's anything else in Halo 2, like in the campaign or anything. Then there's this thing. I don't know if there's anything else they did, but definitely. But Halo 4 is.
Oh, wait, that which it's fine because we've got limited ammo when you detach the turrets.
Oh yeah. Tom's got this.
Yeah, just don't die.
Yeah, just don't die.
You're not muted. I know. I said no, I'm muted as I'm muted, so you're gonna hear me say that.
Yeah. Yes, because sometimes I'll look over and like, why
keeps coming in my room for like 2 seconds. Like, no.
It's like I'm a little busy. Yeah. Well, that's why in like with mine, I have a sign that says streaming.
Yeah. Well,
so at least people
I
know
the door,
like.
Otherwise, we'll just die.
Well, but I mean, like I have like something saying, "Hey, I'm streaming now," so it's like if you're gonna come in, people are gonna hear you. So don't say anything. It's like, here's my credit card number.
I used to happen when I started streaming. It was like, hey, and they kept saying my real name. Like, no.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's like, no, it's Lubbock.
Well, you're lucky because you have no shame. It's Nate.
Well, that's the thing. Like I've kind of made it like that's like I don't have my last name, right? Like that's sort of where I try to have some privacy.
Isn't it Nate Jones?
No.
Oh no!
No! Oh no! I've been doxxed.
Oh no!
Doxxed.
I can imagine if I actually guessed it like that.
Oh my god! It was so random. It's like what? Just no, that's not my name.
Yeah, Nate Jones' birthday, August 7th, 1998.
Oh my goodness!
How did you... 4723.
I'm gonna die.
Social security number 5.
Yeah, it's like, how did you guess all of that? It's like what? Oh my goodness! Oh boy. Okay, don't shoot me. Oh, I'm dead. Of course.
Okay, so you don't touch the turret, you got some damage. But you can't remove.
Yeah.
But you can for a lot longer. That was very dangerous.
Yeah, well, I guess they figured it was overpowered.
If you just like, if you keep me covered, then you'll basically good. You just make sure I don't die. Yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna happen. Just Voxy will never die. That's, yeah. Just make sure he never dies.
Oh, I actually detached it. Great. Oh, it does not hurt anyway. Here we go.
Yeah, you grew.
Nice, nice, nice.
Get him, Tom! Oh, there we go.
Another one, and another one, and another one, and another one, and another one.
Another one. Another one.
Another one.
Another one. Ah! Whoa! Oh boy.
I'm trying. I don't even have a good shot from here. Okay. Oh, is that the last one? Yep.
Yeah.
They're bringing in the ship. I'm not even gonna try it now because I know I'm gonna have the wrong name. I just know it. I'm not even gonna try.
Oh, you know, it's that ship, the Warthog. They're gonna fly it in.
Yes.
It's a pelican.
It's a long hog.
It's a long hog. That's right. Yeah, the long sword and short sword give long hog and short hog. This is a pelican.
It's the mega hog.
The brutes are pressing hard.
The mega hog.
Hey, we gotta run back here.
Yeah. All right, let them go
back
in.
to the beginning.
See, they get rescued, but then we're just left
just
behind.
stay back.
Yeah. They're like, we're not gonna rescue you. That's fine. Like, okay.
What?
Nah, you can't. You gotta.
Yeah,
run back. You gotta run back.
Unfortunately, it's not meant for us. They don't want to save us. They just want to leave
got
us
some jobs to do
behind. Oh, that worked.
You got the password yet?
Attention. Hostiles reported outside the barracks.
I don't know the password.
It's me. That's not the password.
It's me.
Wrong way.
Oh yeah, this is yeah. It's the other side.
Barracks are under attack. All available combat teams respond. Anyone in the barracks, I need a sit rep now.
Sir, this way.
No! Coming out of the vents!
Line them up.
It's
to say,
je sais pas.
Je ne sais pas.
Down, short control bird.
Je parle en français un peu. Parlez anglais, s'il vous plaît. Yeah,
it's better than this sort of split.
But it just means that I would know exactly what you're saying, and I could just. That's all.
But if you hear some vocabulary that's supposed to come from the church, then that means it's Spartan.
Yeah. Well, see, that's the thing. Sky can like be like, oh, that Nate guy, I hate him, and I wouldn't know. It's like I would have no idea. It's like, oh, she's saying nice things about me. It's like, yeah.
Nice CP.
Just.
It might go off all by itself.
Johnson.
Just.
You might want to put
Oh.
Chief, have a look. A little going away gift.
Oh yeah, there's a whole bomb thing.
We've linked it to smaller charges.
Yeah, yes, there's the bomb.
Johnson, as soon as the evacuation is complete, start the
See,
timer.
Sky and Tom, they are good teammates.
Good luck, everyone.
They're doing their best. That's all he can ask for.
Arbiter, follow me.
He's like beep boop beep boop beep boop. Beep, boop. Like, oh, pressing buttons are just. Oh, he's like, oh my goodness, so much effort.
Master hack commands.
Just
What are you doing?
Hack commands. I'm the hack commands. Ah.
We go up.
That's the hack commands. I did not plug the keyboard before doing this. Don't worry. Oh no! What did I do? Ah! Register to OnlyFans? No! Ah! Give me a Twitch account? No!
It's the other way.
Oh.
We go. Remember? Sky, we go back. Back over here.
Wait, where?
Where the bouncing arrow is. I'm just waiting to get her.
Oh.
Remember the
what?
door?
Right.
Remember we go through the door with the shotguns. And...
It's fine.
Whee! And then we go. This
My
way.
face used to bomb right away.
Right. Oh no! They're
I was here
starting the
earlier.
bomb.
Alright, then we go to like the jetpack
Yeah.
boost and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the fun stuff.
Get to the barracks. We're good for now.
Wait, whoa, wait, where are you guys getting?
Then escort them to the
What?
landing pad for evac.
Oh, this way.
Oh no! Okay, come back.
I see
come
you.
come back to the bomb. Come back to the bomb. Come to the bomb. Come back to the bomb.
Yes.
See the arrow?
Yes.
Yes,
Oh,
sir.
there we go.
With the
I thought a
shotgun.
bouncing guy. I thought it was you that was jumping around. You went
No,
that arrow.
that's me over here. No. Oh. It's fine. It's fine.
It is confusing.
No, yeah, I know. Yeah. Well, because I played this so much that I just go, oh yeah, you go through here, but.
A good thing you have enough points here.
Yeah.
Ah! Flashbang.
See, that's why I'm here. I'm here to guide you guys, and then die, and then keep guiding you, and then die again,
and dying and dying.
and just keep, yeah.
That works. Watch out, Tom!
No!
Oh, that green smoke, that means it's healing.
Yeah.
It's a healing. Oh gosh.
Oh my god. Oh, whoa! Surprise, brute! He shows up right beside me. Oh, I'm dead. Oh, come on. Okay.
Well, go back to your choke point.
So, new plan. We don't die.
Is that the first time you got a choke point so far? I think so.
For what?
I think the first time I went back to the choke point.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it hasn't happened that often.
I'm making a lot of progress.
No.
Watch out. Not again. Wait, no, Nate's still alive.
Yeah. Running, run away.
Ooh. Okay.
I was like, they could have easily stuck a bomb in my back. Okay, come on. Oof. Oh, that was... Don't die. Ooh. Ooh. Oh yeah, there's the hammer brute. Oh, we got him! Whew. Oh crap! No! I want to pick up my shotgun! Dang it!
Yes, wait, angle.
Oh, there we go. Here's a shotgun. Oh, stop throwing things at me. Oh, another brute! No! What? Big rip.
Right.
Okay, now can I get my shotgun back?
No. You lost shotgun privilege.
Where is it? There we go. Okay.
Where are we going?
Now I think we're good. I don't know if anyone wants the hammer.
I think this way there's no path. Unless I gotta find where the door is. But it's not lit up. Where is it? Or is the way? You know the way?
I know the way.
We're not going to
What do you do?
I'm
Oh,
trying.
she's getting weapons.
Yeah, I saw that.
I was just like, what's going on? Whoa!
Wait,
okay, well, we're down here.
Oh no, it's after.
It's fine. No, so wait, hang on. It's right here. Underneath us is the skull.
It's in the next drop.
It's a little. You have to be very careful.
Yeah.
Because it's
and I push you.
There's like yeah, you put. There's like a little arrow.
Yeah.
Like, oh, here.
Yes. Hey.
There we go. Oh, Tom. Poor Tom. Rip.
Okay.
But that's fine. He's going the right way.
Go down.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, Tom, do you also get the achievement?
Should get the achievement. Whoa. Oh,
yeah,
you're.
that one.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, here.
Whee! I know it's scary, Sky, but you have to jump.
You gotta do it.
She's like,
jump.
She's like, I don't know. I know. Yeah, I think there was a couple times where when I was playing it the first time, I'm just like, am I supposed to jump to it? Will I die?
Oh, I got a 1 bullet left. Oh crap.
Rip Tom. Oh no! Rip Sky.
It's okay.
Ah!
Open the door! Ah! They're right here!
I'm gonna die, 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 I'm gonna
Don't
die. Open the door. Oh, almost made it! Almost, the door's open though.
No!
There's a shortcut over here, by the way. Wait.
Well,
I opened the shortcut. Where is it?
You blocked the shortcut. That doesn't help, Foxy.
Oh, it's over here. In the next corridor. Wait, I'm only grenades. Oh, I'm dead. The demon is dead. Yeah. Yes, the next corridor, and you turn right. There's no open door. Ooh. Yeah, right here.
Oh, okay.
Right here.
Oh, I see. Interesting. I don't think I've ever known about that one.
Yeah, just the same.
Ah.
How can I have you made?
Well, that worked. Okay, let me just blind them.
Ah, flashbang. Oh, they're fighting for us now.
No!
Oh.
Nice, we got Marines on our side.
Oh, there we go. Finally. Oh no, that was a no! That was a bad spawn for Sky. Right on top of Tom's head. And then he was instantly getting shot at. It's like, why would you think that was a good place to put her? I'm gonna spawn her on top of his head. That's fine. She's safe. That was like
because Jackal. Jackal's dead.
No jackals in the courtyard.
Well, glad to have you along, Chief.
Whoa, whoa.
Damn.
Okay.
Did you armor? Switch your carbine? Yeah. Nice.
Oh.
This way, people.
This way.
Oh, there it is. There it is.
There it is.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Lost the op center.
Oh yeah, yeah. This will be interesting.
Hold them off. Falling back to the hangar. But don't wait for us.
What should I do, ma'am? Hold position. I'm not leaving without him.
Bye.
No, we got one Marine. Perfect. That's all we need. This is
one Marine. Hey. I'm sorry to say it, but you're gonna die.
Ma'am, I've got movement.
You're probably gonna die. You just don't have any weapons either.
Jump pad. We're going after the thrusters. Shake them off, Lieutenant.
Just stay in the elevator, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
I got one. I don't want to be here, doesn't notice me. Uh-huh. Another one.
Another one.
Another one. Nice.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes there's one that always gets stuck.
Yeah, I noticed that. One time I got stuck in forever.
Yeah, because with me and my friend Coffee, we played sometimes. It's just like, what is going on? It's just one's just stuck up there. He just hides and doesn't know what to do, and you have to like find him. And... No, no, ouch! No, ouch! do that.
I'm trying.
Just don't.
I'll try
Just
harder.
don't. Oh my goodness. Here we go.
Headshot.
Nice. Whoa!
No, the bro shot! It fell all the way down.
Rip. Mega rip. That was you guys flew.
Oh, there's another one of them. Perfect.
Drones, go. I'll cover you.
Oh, did we do it?
Oh, shotgun. I'll take the shotgun. You can take the blue shot if you want. There's more shotguns over here.
Brutes, in the ops center. They disarmed the bomb.
Shotty.
Sorry, Commander, there were too many. Even
Over
for me.
here.
Chief, get back to the ops center. Kill those brutes. Rearm
Oh
the bomb.
yes, that's right.
I've got to get these men out of here. But
And
I'll radio
cloak.
with another exit.
Want to go invisible?
There's something over there.
Whoops, wrong one. That my fault. No one go near that. Look out! Yeah, that was my. I accidentally hit X and it dropped the mine as opposed to swapping it. Whoops, my bad. Everyone's fine though. We're all it's fine. It's fine. It's just a little explosion. Okay. Oh, this guy's up top. I was like, where did she go? She's being sneaky. Oh, look at that. See, this is a good sniping spot.
Oh, you gotta go back?
Oh yeah, we gotta go down there. Oh, what?
There we go.
What?
Nice, this is a screen capture thingy.
Oh, uh-oh.
I might just like not put it full screen and then recrop it because it's pretty annoying.
Oh.
It's not much higher the resolution anyway. Let's see if I move it full screen. What does it look like right now?
Oh, what for mine?
It works. That's gonna be a
You will be the protectors of Earth and all her colonies.
Cortana jump scare.
Yep. There we go, that works. No one don't have to worry about always switching back to
Oh yeah.
because this guy just loves to disable itself when I switch windows.
Oh, well that's nice.
Yeah.
That's good when it does that.
Yeah. Is my mic sounding okay? It sounds different now. That's fine. It's fine.
Your mic sounds fine.
Okay. Face up.
Whoa. 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 Accidentally hit Tom. There we go.
That's a little grenade.
Chief, follow the service.
Fire grenade, that's okay. Tom's dead. Okay.
Oh, whoops. I went invisible. That's fine. There, you can't see me.
Disconnected.
What? Oh, yeah. Oh, no. Just everything freezes.
Because when we played Halo 2, there was a bug. Whenever Nate would go invisible, it would just disconnect the entire session. And it started looking over.
Yeah, so he could go invisible,
That
but I
was
couldn't.
so dumb.
That was. It just like.
But sometimes it works. But
Yeah.
it's too risky.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, Tom got exploded. Foxy got exploded. Oh no, she got. I'm probably gonna get sniped. Okay, where's the
Oh, the
sniper?
sniper's up there. Watch out.
Yeah. If I can just... Oh, yeah. I got blued up.
Head through the motor pool to get to the
I
outside.
told you that you died right away.
Okay, where's that thing? Did you get him? Okay. Oh! Okay. I think we're good. Yeah, see, this is where we defuse the bomb, or start the bomb, or whatever the heck it is. I forget. Because they're here like, "Arr, rah, rah, rah." Come on, Boxy!
I'm coming!
Okay, open the door.
I see one.
Oh my god, no!
Did we all die?
We all died because they threw grenades instantly. So as soon as we went through the door, just grenades started flying.
Wow.
Oh, that was wow. That was just boom. Oh, whoa. Someone
Get him. There's a few rods over here.
Oh no.
Too.
Oh no. Okay, running.
Stop it.
Oh.
Oh,
Okay,
geez.
it's the other way. I ran away, so you spawn. It's the other.
Oh right, because it spawned me the wrong direction.
Yeah, it spawns where I'm facing, because I'm facing like I'm scared. So. So it's like
Oh,
okay.
there's a few rods. Watch out.
Stop it.
You got few rods.
Yeah, they're not being nice. I don't know why.
It's like you don't want us.
Yeah.
As long as you stay behind. As long as you stay behind the shelf, okay, then die.
Yeah, as long as you stay behind the shelf, we're fine. And then you just die instantly. Now, okay, we'll keep doing that.
We'll progress. Hey!
Oh,
nice.
No. Come on. Okay.
Ooh, where?
Whoa!
Where?
Oh, he crawled up top.
Why?
I
got it.
You got it? Oh.
Bomb has been planted.
Bombs armed.
We got your exit. A service elevator.
Okay, now we have to run away as it's about to
through the caves.
Did actually
No.
break?
Yeah.
No, I mean,
Ow! Stop it. They're not being nice.
I mean the boss mod.
No.
And of course this code wants, crap.
It's over here. Over here.
I'm coming!
Oh, wait, it's gonna blow! Quick!
Oh boy. There we go.
Thank you.
From here.
Come on, Boxy! You're gonna make us explode! Okay, I can't see when it does that. Oh no, and
another jump
scare Cortana. It's like it's shaking and then the lights go off and on and I'm like, I don't know what's going on. Oh! What? You spawned us. So we were like in a battle. And so it's just so I was shooting and then I saw Tom spawn in front of me. And then I saw a shield go out and I'm like, whoa.
I'm trying to attack because I got a pure rod though.
Oh my goodness. That was...
Another jump.
Oh boy. Yeah. I have a feeling Box is gonna teleport us again.
Yep. Watch out.
We're just gonna go bloop. Oh. See, I try to wait for the team so that we're all together. There we go.
Oh, there's little turrets.
There isn't much time, Chief.
There we go.
Oh wow, this is gonna be perfect timing too, because I'll have to go like really soon.
Yep.
It's perfect timing.
Because on 3 missions though, so you're now lead.
Yes, we would have. Yeah.
It's fine.
What? We got this. We got 2 missions
I'm gonna
done.
detach the turrets. You have more than enough ammo for the rest of this.
Bomb's about to blow. Go, go,
Bomb's about to blow.
Oh, there we go.
Actually, if someone wants the pure one, I can give him to him, or wants the turrets.
Well, it's not gonna matter because
They
we're gonna have to restart anyways.
What?
Yeah, this is it. We're at the end level.
Oh,
we're done.
Oh,
that's what I'm saying. I'm like, it doesn't matter.
Oh right, I was mixed with another mission.
This place.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So but this is a longer mission than next one coming up. Yeah. But that's how I'm like, it's perfect time because this is it. We did it!
Let's
2 missions with the best teammates you could ever have. And yeah, if we could keep with all of us doing it, that'd be cool. Keep it up. Because then Sky will have a bunch of achievements, and I'm sure Tom will get a bunch of achievements.
Oh jeez, all the challenges.
Yeah, all the achievements.
Actually, how many are there in the game? Like how many
700
missions?
Oh no, achievement. There's like 10 missions.
The game is 10 missions.
More or less, yeah.
Yeah, pretty sure. Yeah, 10.
So how many were we supposed to do today? Because
as much as we could,
yeah.
Which would be 2.
2 or 3. We got cut down to 2.
Fire.
Just instantly dead. Just
because Nate has to go to just about.
Somebody hit the emergency
That's
power.
perfect.
Yeah. So yeah, this is because I have to go. So that's kind of what we usually do around this time. But then, so I don't know how it's gonna work out. If next week's gonna work out, or
yeah, want to do this again? Or that was pretty fun.
You can walk.
Yeah.
Put your boots on the line.
Want to do this again next week? You can do it from home too.
Yeah.
It could be fun. Tom, what do you think? But if it's not available all the weeks, it's fine too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's if we could, I could try to, because this was fun.
Yeah. Anyways. Yeah. That was part 1. Part 20 of the entire saga. Oh jeez. But actually it's perfect because well I'm game sharing with Sky and Tom, his brother, actually has MCC 5 and Infinite.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah.
So there's now there's one mission that has started. Do we quit or?
No, we just quit here. It's fine.
Yeah, because this mission will show up as the next one to do.
But technically we did 3 missions, but the first one is the cutscene.
Yeah, Halo 2 was like that, right? The first mission was a cutscene.
Oh my gosh, you did an entire level in Legendary. Congrats.
Whoa! Yeah.
Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, there's 9 missions and 2 cutscenes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I like that. That was fun.
Yeah.
But and
next
it's
time
nice.
I have better setup, we'll be able to get it to work.
Yes. Yeah. Hopefully they'll just every time there'll be no issues.
Tom, I might just ship you a little period buds with a microphone, so it's easier.
Yeah. But yeah, no, that's good, and it's nice to meet you, Sky and Tom.
Oh.
Me too.
Yeah.
Oh, we didn't get to 2,400 deaths. Nice.
Yeah.
399.
But yeah, so if like later or at some point you can send me Sky's YouTube and I can put it in the description. Yeah, what's your YouTube?
If you want to share it, of course.
Yeah.
What?
What's your YouTube? If you want to share it.
My YouTube?
Yeah, for your vlog. He wants to promote you.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can you just type it. You can just type it in.
Yeah.
You can just type it.
What is my YouTube?
Because then
you can check on the app if you want. It's fine. You can
Yeah.
for the name.
Oh,
Oh, Tom is changing his emblem.
he's having fun with that.
Yeah.
I saw him changing colors.
It's nice to see in real time. Oh, there you go. Yeah. I can post in the text chat.
Yeah. Because then I can tell people to go to your YouTube channel and check out your stuff that you do.
There we go. That's the new channel.
it's my
In the text chat.
YouTube channel.
Do you not see it? It's in Discord as like text chats for voice channels now.
Oh yeah, see that's yeah. I
posted
have
it
to.
there.
Okay, let's.
It's a
see if
French
I can-
name too, so I'm not gonna say it.
Well, I
won't be
know,
able to see
yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. Where is it? Come on. Come on.
I can
should
send
be-
the Xbox message
it
to you,
under
I guess.
This
Or the
one.
Discord DM.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Oh, you got it?
Just hang on here, because there's the. Was it a text thing? Can I
There you
not
go.
see the
I DM'd it as
open
well.
chat?
I DM'd it.
Okay, I was like, I'm trying to do all these things. Oh, did it? Okay. Anyways. Okay, let's go here. Whoa. Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So Le Vlog de Sarah.
Yeah.
Which is.
Oh
okay,
wait, there's
so
like a
let-
bunch of different. It's actually hard to find. You got
Well,
the
that's what I'm
URL.
saying.
Let me
Yeah,
share
what's
it
the
to
actual?
myself on my phone.
But at least I know what to call it. Le Vlog de Sarah. So everyone, well, you can check her out. I will put a link in the description of my when I put this on YouTube. Yeah, so check her out. Of course, it'll be in French, but that's okay. You know, there might be people will know French or.
I got the ad right here. I can. Send
Okay.
it. And Discord stole my cursor again. Nice.
Oh, good. Actually, is this showing up on the stream? Oh, it is. I think.
There we go.
But yeah, there it is, right there.
And if you type the ad, it doesn't show up. Nice.
Yeah, it's just... but yeah, okay, so let's go here. I go to, oh yeah, okay, yes. Okay, yeah, Le Vlog de Sarah, then 424. Okay, at Le Vlog de Sarah, 424.
Yeah.
That is
It's
her
I don't know why YouTube is like hiding it like crazy.
Yeah, well, I don't know. There might be other ones that have
Well,
similar
let me
names.
share the
so
actual
it's
link.
just...
Here we go. Let me use the phone and share the link to myself.
Yeah. But
I guess I can just paste it there from the account. Where's Discord?
Well, because if I go to
There's Discord.
YouTube,
Okay. There we go. Let me paste the link.
yeah, because then I'll just put it up in the
There
description
we go.
later.
I put the link in the text chat.
Okay.
I can also DM it, I guess.
Well, I should be able to bring up chat now, because that actually shows up on the
Here we go.
on the stream here. But yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. Oh, perfect. Yeah. Okay, there we go. That worked. Yeah, there it is. All right. So yeah, everyone check out.
Oh, it's actually showing.
They vlogged it there. Yeah, yeah. The DMs show up in the stream
Or is this a text message?
because of how it is, because the pop up. Yeah, I know that's all it is, so it's not bad. But that's why I'm like, oh, well, this is a way to. But there it is. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So check her out. I'll check it out, even though I know some French. I don't know a lot of French, but I'm sure I could pick it up or understand what it is. But and this is a way for people to learn French, you know.
Paste the link in my DMs. My direct messages. The link that's copied on your phone. Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. But well, yeah, it was good playing with you guys for sure.
Sometime, yeah.
And yeah, well, maybe next week or whenever, like whenever you guys are available.
Basically.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I see we can. Oh, we can just rate this thing. Halo. We can rate them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Should we rate Hops playing Lego Ninjago or Eric the Crafter who's actually speedrunning Scarface and what is yours?
Ooh.
What do you think, chat? Oh, and Disco is good. Oh, great. Let's go rate Raptor.
Yeah, there you go.
Actually, I haven't rated Hops in a while. Let's just go rate Hops. And I'll see y'all. And I might do, I don't know, we'll do something tomorrow. We'll see. We might do something tomorrow. We'll see. Maybe, perhaps, potentially.
Maybe.
If not, back on probably on Monday for some more Jedi Survivor. But yeah, thank you for watching.
Oh.
Everyone, all the lurkers. See ya.
Bye.